This is gonna be a totally different vibe if you're watching today. I have to film on a new camera, so. All right, hello and welcome back to another coffee talk. I'm filming on a new camera today. Well, it's not actually a new camera. I'm filming on my vlog camera. So this is kind of like a test episode. So hopefully everything works out. It's like with it being a new setup, I'm hoping there will be no glitches because this is the first time that I'm trying it. My tried and true DSLR camera is dying. A very slow and sad death. I've had this for so long that I think that's the sentimental aspect, is when I think about how many videos I have filmed on this camera. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what I'm gonna do about it, but I'm currently in the grieving stage. All right, for the February brew, I wanna pull a new card, a different card. I also need to pull, and it's up there, so again, I won't be able to grab it, but back in the winter solstice, the jars, I need to pull my February. It's nice because it's actually still pretty. It's like mid-January right now, so I actually could wait to pull that closer to February. But if you did partake in the monthly jar thing, I definitely need to do that. Let's pick a overall card for February. So the card is basil, prosperity, luck, love. I love that. I love that we picked the herb of love and luck, because that feels like good energy going into February, March. Seeing little ladybugs around the house lately that hadn't, maybe woke up too early from hibernation, or I don't know. There's a lot of ladybugs that definitely hibernate in the siding of my house. It's like an issue where I live in Ontario. In the fall, it's so bad. There's so many of them. But it's interesting because now that they're all gone, I just keep finding little ones here and there all over our house, especially because we have a lot of plants too. They're pretty harmless, but I have to, that's another thing I find I have to have like grace for, because my initial reaction when I see it is like, get out of my house. But then it's like, can I find a way to just live with the ladybugs? Can I find a way to live with, I mean, they're definitely most annoying in the fall when there's just too many of them. But right now, they're not that annoying. Like, just let the ladybugs live. There's a theme that I feel like is threaded through, and so I'm gonna just say things that might not make sense, but just like go with me here. Listen to the song Love by Jhené Aiko, and that's the song that I feel like energetically says what I want to say about this card. It does a better job at saying it. I think it might be my mantra for February 2025. Basil says prosperity, luck, and love. Basil is one of the most versatile herbs in the Green Witch's Toolkit. It's full of positive energy. It can draw good things into your life. Basil has been known to dispel fear, confusion, and any weakness, and is even used as an aromatic by ancient Greeks to attract love. In this way, basil is all about forward movement. The basil card tells you that the time is right for something you may have been hesitant about in the past. Unhooking the past. Interesting. Okay, so to unhook the hesitancy of whatever you kept telling yourself or have been telling yourself it hasn't been the right time to do, basil or February could be the time to do it. Okay? The time for planning and prepping is over. Okay. The thing that pops into my head when I hear that, the time for planning and prepping is over, is to anybody out there that has had like a similar goal or similar goals or a similar life dream for, I don't know, a couple years now, and you keep making the same dream board. Like, this is how I felt at the beginning of 2025, where I was like, I'm not gonna make the dream board. I'm not gonna do what I normally do, because not that it hasn't worked, like I'm very grateful to have seen some of my dreams definitely come true, but there's like some that are just haven't changed for years and years and years. And if I want to unhook my hesitancy, and I need to like stop just making dream boards and planning and prepping and coming up with ideas, like right now it's winter. So yes, it's still an appropriate time to like sit with something, but also it could still be a great time to start, especially February when are we wrapping up winter? I personally kind of see March as the initiation into spring. So February coming into March, now might be the time to start executing the plan instead of just sitting back and planning. This is a great moment to indulge in love or take a risk. Basil has your back and luck is on your side. And the thread, I guess, that I was talking about earlier, that feels like it's throughout all of this, including the song, is like, the reason why I love the song Love by Jhené Aiko is what it brought up to me is this idea that you get to choose what you devote your love to. And to me, I think love could be one of those interchangeable words for source energy or for God. And so that level of devotion that we often see very easily in things like religion, or in the past, if you look at religions, you see a lot of devotion and devoting that love to God. And so I honor that. I respect that. In case anybody is watching that does that, like, that is very honorable. I think though that in devoting love to anything, in a way, it is working with that, I'm going to say God energy, but you could also say source energy. You could also just say our highest potential as human beings is to act in the energy of love. And gosh knows the world needs it. So if you, whether it is, and it doesn't have to be romantic love, like that tends to be the first thing we think of, especially around February with Valentine's Day. Like we tend to think of romantic love, and by all means, yes, like true, honorable, respectable love, romantic love is by far worth taking the risk for. Every single time it'll be worth taking the risk for. But maybe you're listening to this and you're heartbroken, or you haven't found that love yet. I mean, turn it somewhere else. It doesn't just disappear, doesn't just go away. And I know that's easier said than done, because fundamentally as humans, we still need connection. You can still get that somehow, some way. I mean, even if it's physical touch, book yourself a massage. If you are like touch starved, book a massage. That's what I would do back in the day when I felt like I didn't have a lot of people physically around me. I devoted my love somewhere else, into some other kind of creation, some other kind of devotion, and would get massages. Like, that sounds so wrong, but truly, like, just like a relaxing massage. Go to a spa and go get a relaxing massage, because that is a form of connection. It's having somebody work the stress off your body in a nice way, and in a way that treats yourself. But also, I mean, you can get connection with your pets. You can get connection with, it is hard to make connection with strangers. And I totally understand, even in my own experience, even how hard it can be to find new connections of love that feels safe in the modern day. Like, I feel like a lot of us are guarded, especially with strangers. And for me, my circle is very, very small, where I am like vulnerable enough to give somebody my heart. There's only like a couple people that I feel safe enough to like devote my love to. But the great part about that, if you relate to that, is that then there's a lot of love left in you to devote elsewhere. Kind of like the concentration of energy thing. Like, if our brain is our tool, right? And like concentration is concentrating your mental energy, your mental frequency to build something, to create something. If the brain is the tool, that makes the brain the screwdriver, and love is the muscle that's turning the screwdriver as it builds. So let love be the energy that like rushes through you and devotes your brain, choose very wisely, be very picky about what you devote your tool of concentration to, and let love choose. That's what I think of. And so the reflection or the question says, have you been scared to take a leap or a risk that may pay off greatly? Thinking about that through the lens of love. Is there anything that lights your heart up that you want to do, that has been a dream, that you've thought about, that you've had on your dream board many years now, and you just haven't, like, it could pay off, but it requires you to take a risk. It requires you to be vulnerable. Love literally does. It requires you to be vulnerable, and that's why it makes sense on the human to human connection. It can be hard to devote love, but we don't just have to devote love human to human. We can devote love to Mother Nature. We can devote love to animals. We can devote love to a cause. We can devote love to ourselves. We can devote love to to the world. Like, if you want to channel it on a worldwide scale, which again, I really feel like the world does need that. It's channeling love into all of the things that you do, because everything we do does ripple effect and affect one another in some way, somehow. And luck, again, like if you think about it, I don't know, this is making me want to go buy a basil tree, because then it's like, if you fine tune your heart, fine tune your current of love under the notion that you're lucky. Because maybe if we kind of take a little bit of like that a fool in love energy, like being madly in love and just assuming like I am lucky. And so all of the things I devote my heart to will always go for the greater benefit. And thus it'll work out. It'll bring prosperity in one way or another. Because again, there's many different ways that we can be prosperous, or that the energy of prosperous can manifest. Like, devote your love to something and assume that you're lucky in that thing take the risk, be vulnerable, do it, do the thing, open your heart and just let it sing in whatever way you know, because only you know, right? I guess that I'll just leave that as the only journal prompt I have today, which is, have you been scared to take a leap or a risk that may pay off greatly? Odds are the answer is yes. So I guess my follow-up prompt would be, what is that risk? Where is that vulnerability that calls to you? And then the third prompt would be, how has it paid off greatly? And the wording of that is very intentional in the sense of write how it's paid off as if it already has paid off, because it's like a thing in the manifestation world or in the manifestation vein of like, when you write as if something has already happened, you kind of trick your brain, or we trick our tool into assuming it's already been built. And if it's already been built, then we already know, we already have in a sense, we kind of align with the instructions that'll help us build it, because we already assume it's been built, or we have told our brains it's already been built. So it's a little bit of that lover fool card, or that fool in love of just assuming it's already yours, assuming it's already been built. Writing the third prompt, how it pays off as if it already has, instead of saying how you want it to pay off, is just a little bit of a fine tuning of the brain to perhaps bring more luck, is the way we can look at it. I'm definitely going to buy a basil tree, or little basil bush, a basil what? I'm going to go buy a little bit of basil on my grocery run today for sure, just to bring even more of that energy into my life. Also, every time I see those little ladybugs now, I'm officially just claiming it as a sign of luck. There's a pile you can't see right now. It's just been sitting there since Christmas, and it's all of my kids' onesies that I want to cut little squares out of and make into a blanket. And I have the fabric pen over there, I have the measuring tape over there, and I have my fabric scissors in the closet. And I have a sleeping baby on my lap. And again, like, that is such a metaphor for life lately. It's just not today. And I was like, perfect, you know what, whatever. Who cares that we didn't start it in January? Let's start it in February. I guess that's kind of what I meant earlier when I was saying I want to be better at picking my yeses, because I'm getting a reality check in motherhood about how much we can really devote our concentration to. And all concentration is, if you think of all things as frequencies, including ourselves, like we are at a certain frequency, we tune to a different frequency, and all throughout our day, different things that we experience and such, it changes our tune. But our concentration and where we concentrate our frequency is really just saying where we concentrate our energy, which is really just saying where we concentrate the tool of our brain. And I intend to concentrate myself and also host a space where I can talk and make a blanket at the same time. And yet I keep finding myself having to, maybe it's a lesson there. Maybe winter really is not the time. Or maybe I'm telling myself that to make myself feel better for not starting a project that I told myself I was going to start all the way back in Christmas. I am very aware of how picky I need to be about my concentration if I actually want to achieve the things that light my heart up. Like, when I think about making that blanket, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, honoring my kids by making them these blankets and pouring myself into something like that because they deserve it. I guess that maybe the tough part is that I'm pouring so much of myself already into them now as they are so young, and like my help is so minimal. And so I guess the grace is in coming that maybe this isn't the year that I start the blanket, but I love the idea. Of hosting coffee talks and sewing. Upon further inspection on that note though, maybe it's because we let go. It's not time to let go yet. Hold on to all of your heart's desires. Don't write them down. Still intend to do them, because I think by the end of winter, by the end of February, by the end of this month, it'll be the time to let it go, to let go what wasn't planted, or actually maybe it's spring. Maybe we got to do some fine tuning in the spring and we see what actually gets planted by spring. That is a seed that I am actively planting by spring. If by March I have not started my blanket, I gotta accept that fate. I gotta just take grace and say my kids are still getting my concentration, but when they're older, maybe that'll be a better idea. And I can pack that up somehow and store it until I'm ready to make the blanket. But I really want to make the blanket now. Anyway, without further ado, I'm wishing you guys a very prosperous, loving, and lucky February. And I will talk to all of you guys in the next one. That felt a little lame, but I really genuinely hope that this month is full of prosperity, luck, and love for all of us. And I'm interested to see what we all devote or channel our love into. Talk to you guys next week.